So with the release of Siege X, there has been a major overhaul to the game, but which operators are meta right now? Which ones do you need to be avoiding? Let's put every attacker on a tier list so that you know which ones are the best. Now, as always, this is strictly my opinion. If you guys disagree, that is a-okay, but just let me know down in the comments, where did I go wrong? Where do you think I went wrong the most? And without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So to kickstart this video, we have Ace. Now, Ace, in my opinion, is always going to be in S tier as long as he still functions the way he does. In my opinion, he's the best hard breacher in the game because he is consistent, quick, and good for exterior and interior walls, with arguably the best loadout out of them all. If this does all stay the same, then Ace is going to continue being an S tier for the foreseeable future. Now, with that being said, let's move it to Amaru, who's a very hit or miss operator. In my opinion, she is not consistent enough to be any higher than B tier, and she is only B tier when she works. But in my opinion, she does deserve C tier just for how inconsistent she is. After Amaru then, we now have Ashe, who again, in my opinion, is easily A tier, fighting for a place in S tier. We might have to come back to that later on in the video, but her simplicity combined with how useful she is and who she actually counters as well, like Mirror, makes her such a good pick. Now, after Ashe, we have Blackbeard, and as we all know, Blackbeard after his rework is still very, very strong, but he is probably S tier, if not high end of A tier. Again, we might have to revisit him a little bit later on in this video as well. I don't want too many operators in S tier, and some people don't like playing shield, so I think A tier is probably the better place to go. Now, after Blackbeard then, we have Blitz. Now, Blitz is an interesting one because he is probably one of the worst shield operators. I would personally go B tier for Blitz just because his shield doesn't cover his whole body. You still have to play that rush flash kind of gunfight style, and I think with the shield rework and how it works, the fact you're no longer able to hip fire shoot actually kind of worked as a little bit of a nerf to him because he could sprint with his shield up anyway. Now, after Blitz, we have Brava, which is again a very hit or miss operator. It kind of depends what kind of team structure the defenders have. If they have the likes of a Capcan and a Rooney, Maestro, those kind of operators that are very beneficial to hack, she can be great. But sometimes if they don't have those operators, she's kind of a pretty useless pick. So again, I'm going to average her out to around a B tier. She is better than Blitz in my opinion, but let me know if you agree or disagree with that. And moving on from Brava, we now have Buck. Now, Buck for me used to be S tier. He's probably still my most played attacker or one of my favorite attackers to play, but when he lost the hard breach gadget, I do think it kind of hindered his ability to be meta. In my opinion, he's probably a little less meta than Blackbeard right now, but all four of these operators are extremely strong and they are very good to be bringing on any map, any bomb site. Literally 90% of the time, these four operators are amazing. Now, next up then, we have Capital, who is someone, in my opinion, I think is overhyped. I don't see why Capital has such a cult fan base. On top of that, Jaeger can now counter him as well, which he never used to be able to do. So that is an interesting one to see how that plays out. But again, I don't think that will really affect Capital's pick rate. I do like the fact you're able to smoke and put fire down as Capital. It is useful, but I never find myself using his gadget in the right situations. But that might just be a skill issue. I'm going to leave him at the high end of B tier, and yeah, we'll just see what you guys think about that one. Now, after Capital, we have Deimos, who is probably low end of A tier, if not high end of B tier again. I don't know why his icon is a lot bigger than the other ones, but it is what it is. But yeah, Deimos is good in most situations. He can put phantom pressure on operators, cause them to, move out of areas that they are safe in and move them into areas that they are not safe in. Also, if you're playing with teammates, you can kind of coordinate and tell them their exact position while they can't really do anything about it, so that they can move in and steal the kill, which is an insane play. After Deimos then, we have Dokkaebi, who even after the nerfs is still an S tier operator. In fact, I'd argue the nerf/rework they did to her made her better, because now you don't get those people who spawn in and immediately call and waste it. You have to wait until you can call them, and then you can. After Dokkaebi then, we have Finka, who in my opinion is high B, low A. I think when played and used at the right time, she can be very good. Obviously, you can get people up from the down but not out stage Siege from across the map, which is another good one. One thing I find is I've mainly used that when people fall off the roof of a building. If someone falls off the roof and they go down, that is when I see Finka stims rezzing people the most. Now after Finka then, we have Flores, who is very good. Once again, he's great for clearing utility. Sometimes he can pick up kills on people who are like on cams or something like that, but he is quite good for just clearing a lot of utility, especially when it comes to like deployable shields, Skopos drones and stuff like that. So in my opinion, he is going to go in B tier. I'd argue he's probably worse than Brava. I think he has less potential, but for consistency, he is probably a little bit more consistent than Brava because you don't have to rely on who the defenders are playing. After Flores then, we have Fuse, who it saddens me to say is probably B tier. I would like him to be up in A, but he just isn't good enough right now. He does have a good loadout. He can be good for clearing people out of rooms, and obviously you can get the odd kill with that as well, but I feel like he's better now just as like a utility clearer more than anything. It's very similar to Flores in that regard, except you have to manually get there and place it down. Now after Fuse, we have Glaz, who in my opinion is an operator that makes no sense. I would personally put him top end of C tier, but I do know some people love playing Glaz, and he does get the secondary SMGs as well to kind of counterbalance the sniper play you have to do with him. Yeah, I'm going to go low end of B tier, but like rock bottom of B tier. He is very close to dropping into C tier. After Glaz then, we have Gridlock, who is going to go into A, but again, probably rock bottom of A, and actually, now that I'm looking at it, Brava probably deserves to be an A more than Gridlock. So I'm going to go Brava, bottom of A, Gridlock, top of B. I think that is looking a little bit better. Actually, you know what? No, Gridlock is also going low end of A tier because once you get the bomb planted, if you have Gridlock on your team, she is insane for locking down that bomb site. After Gridlock then, we have Grim. Grim has bad juju from his release. Everyone still thinks he's quite bad, but he is actually not bad anymore. He's actually quite good. I'd argue he could go up into A tier as well. A lot of these operators are very good in certain situations, but they're like too situational to be an S tier, if you know what I mean. After Grim then, we have Hibana, who in my opinion is the worst hard breacher out of the three that we have. And while we're on the topic of hard breachers, I think I'm going to do Thermite as well. But for me, Hibana probably goes around Gridlock in A tier. Thermite, in my opinion, also goes up into S tier. He is far better than Ace for exterior walls, but when it comes to interior walls, he's a little bit worse because obviously you have to manually go up to that wall, place it down, stuff like that, which isn't very good. After the two hard breachers then, we have Ayana, who is kind of a weird one. I'd say probably A, high end of B tier. I'm going to leave her high end of B just because I think A is getting a little bit cluttered, but she is a good operator. She can basically get unlimited amounts of intel with her clones. They basically act as an unlimited source of drones where you can just scout out ahead of you, see if there's anyone there, make sure you're not going to die to someone in a random corner and then push in for yourself, and you can actually use the intel to get some kills as well, which is pretty good for her. IQ, in my opinion, is an operator that I would love to see get a buff. I genuinely think she's C tier right now. I don't know what they need to do because the reworked version of IQ that I would have liked to seen is exactly what Solace is. Now it'd be interesting to see if they brought like the exact Solace gadget to an attacker and made IQ have the exact same helmet as Solace, because that gadget doesn't need to fundamentally work on defense. If it worked the exact same but on attack, it would still be useful. So I don't know, would you like to see that, like a rework where IQ gets the exact same gadget as Solace, or do you like it where they are both different from each other? After IQ then, we have Jackal, the foot fetish man himself. He is highly banned still to this day, and I have no idea why. I think he's probably A tier, to be honest, low end of A tier again, because finding those, you know, roamers, people hiding in random corners, he's good, but they did actually nerf him, I'm just remembering, for Siege X. I actually haven't had a chance to play him after Siege X has released yet. Now that I'm thinking about it, he's probably high end of B tier because you can only ping people once now. I don't see what he did wrong to get that kind of nerf. Maybe he was overperforming on his win-loss ratio or something like that. Either way, moving on from Jackal over to Callie. Callie's another interesting one because she's kind of similar to Thatcher, where she can help clear utility, but instead of disabling it, she destroys it. She's good for opening walls if Thatcher is banned, but then you do have to play with a sniper. Again, kind of similar to Glaz, she does get the secondary SMG, but does that really counteract the fact that you have to use a sniper as your primary? I would go high end of C tier here, just because yes, she is useful in terms of her gadget, but like I said, you have to play with that sniper, which is not a good playstyle for Siege. And while we're talking about it, I think Thatcher is easily up in A tier. Now, I would rather play these three, but I think Thatcher's still good. He counters so many people, so he's just always going to be good. But obviously, he's banned a lot of the time as well, so it's hard for me to put him in S tier if he's banned all the time. Next up then we have Lion, who I think, again, similar to Finker, when used at the right time, right situations, with a team push, stuff like that, he can be A tier, and a lot of these attackers are actually up in A tier, which is kind of crazy. But these two operators are very similar to each other. It's all about timing, so it's very hit or miss. You need to learn when to use those gadgets and how to use them well, so you need to coordinate with your team. Next up then we have Maverick. Now Maverick kind of got a soft buff this season because they reworked the way the electricity works, so he will no longer take electricity damage while using his blowtorch on a wall. I do still think he is B tier though, just because obviously if you can't get the wall open with a Thatcher, with a Kali, he is kind of your only resort unless you have like an IQ from below or something like that, but those are very tedious and they require them not dying. So Maverick is like the only other third option, so for that reason he is good, but for consistency purposes the other two are just better. Now after Maverick we have Montaigne, who, as I said earlier, Blitz is probably the worst shield operator out of the two. I think Montaigne is also up in A tier. I think the rework really did help solidify him as an A tier operator. I really like the way he plays out in the current meta of Siege. Nook, in my opinion, is probably C tier. She's not very good. In fact, I'd argue IQ is probably more useful. Nook is kind of like a Vigil but on attack, which means someone has to be on that specific camera looking at it and paying attention to it when you're walking past. She used to literally completely go undetected, but now it has like those Vigil lines where it distorts the camera, so you kind of know something's there. So for that reason she's just not great, is she? And she doesn't have the best loadout either, in my opinion. I'd like to see her get her silent step back. I think that could push her up to a B tier, but right now she's C. After that then we have Nomad, who's just comfortably A because solo queue, she's very, very good. She's probably an S tier solo queue operator, but just as an operator in general, she is good flank watch, stuff like that. The only downside is her gadget is very loud, so it's kind of easy to just avoid it. Osa, in my opinion, is low end of B tier, way too easy to counter, too easy to destroy her gadget. Ram is easy A tier as well. I'd argue similar, maybe better actually than Damo. She's able to play vertically very, very well. She has the R4C, which is a great weapon, and she's able to use her gadget while she does something else. So she can throw down a gadget, start literally ripping up an entire floor, and while she's doing that, she can go watch her back for herself. So she's not even vulnerable while she's doing it, which is insane. Now after Ram, we have Raora, who is the newest attacker we have, and after a season with her, I don't think she's S. I don't think she's A. If she is A, she's very, very rock bottom of A. But in my opinion, she probably slots into B tier. She's a very mid attacker, in my opinion. I really think she's very underwhelming. I think that's just the easiest way to describe her. She's very underwhelming, and I'd rather bring other operators, to be completely honest. Now after Raora, we have Sens, and I believe Sens, yeah, also has a massive icon for no reason. But even after the rework, I don't think they're much better. I think before they were probably D tier / low end of C. I think at most they moved up to like mid to high C. I think IQ is better, and now that I'm looking at it, I'd probably put IQ up here. I maybe would even put Glaz down here, but in my opinion, Sens just isn't that great of an operator. You're better off just bringing someone like a Glaz who has smoke grenades, or like a Thermite who has smoke grenades, and just smoking off that line of sight instead. I know that they're able to enable and disable it now, but what use is that when they have a Warden? You know what I mean? After Sens then, we have Sledge, which finally Ubisoft decided to buff. Sledge now counters the Clash rework, so if Clash has her shield up, he can bash her, knock her back. If Clash plants her shield, he can hit it and destroy it, kind of like he can with any other deployable shield. And just in general, Sledge is just a solid operator, but in my opinion, he is probably an A tier operator. Anywhere in A tier, to be honest. It all depends on how much you like him. After Sledge then, we now have Striker, who is the attacking recruit. Now, in my opinion, the attacking recruit is better than the defending one, just because you can get like frag grenades on top of another secondary gadget, so I feel like they are a solid attacker. I'd go high end of B tier or low end of A. Personally, I think it does depend on the map, because certain maps you do need other operators. After Striker then, we now have Twitch, who, to be honest, high end of B, low end of A. I don't think she's as good as people make out. The F2 isn't as good as people want it to be honest. Like, the nostalgia of the F2, it still lives on to this day. Yes, it used to be a very insane weapon, and if you can control the recoil, it is still a good weapon, but it's not a good enough reason to be bringing Twitch over someone who's just more useful to the team. Next up then, we have Ying, who is still an A tier despite the nerf to her, where they changed the way her, you know, timing goes off on those Ying Candelas. One downside still to this day is that you can blind your teammates, which is a fair enough point. If she didn't, she'd be very, very strong. She's very hit or miss. She can have insane plays, but she's definitely A tier. She's not any worse than that. After Ying, we have Zero, who is either low end of A, high end of B. I would like to put him in low end of A. I think that is a better place for him. He does get a lot of cameras, kind of similar to Valkyrie on defense though. You need your teammates to go on it. If you're not playing in like a 5 stack, are you going to get the most out of a Zero camera? I don't know, but either way, that's where I'd put him. And then Zofia, I'd probably just go high end of B tier. She's fine. With that being said, I'll leave the Defender video on screen now. Click it if you want to go watch the same video, but for all of the Defenders for CGX. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe, let me know where I went wrong the most in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.